Welcome back to the Graduate Business Information Bootcamp video series. In this third and final piece of our agenda, we're going to talk about copyright. Again, I need to preface this with I am not a lawyer, but I am a librarian. So I have some ideas about what we suggest to keep in mind when thinking about copyright and using copyrighted material in any of your presentations or other kinds of classwork. So getting to know copyright, the first thing we need to know is about the different kinds of intellectual property, or the creations of the mind. Creators have legal rights to the use and distribution of their creations. Unlike patents or trademarks, for copyright, that is inherent. It is granted to you at the time of your creation. You don't have to register for your copyright. You have copyright as soon as you create something. Copyright is granted to the rights holder for the lifetime of the creator plus 70 years. I use this picture of the statue of Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse because that's really, Disney products are really what kind of it's driven copyright law. As soon as it came up for renewal or come up to be in public domain, the laws were changed so that Mickey Mouse continues to hold a copyright. I can't use a picture or an image of Mickey Mouse, but in this case, I do use an image that someone does give me permission to use. Now, copyrighted material cannot be reproduced or distributed in any form without the express permission of the rights holder. So that's the important piece to remember, the reproduced or distributed in any form. Sometimes that distribution comes with a fee attached, and sometimes we have to really remember who the rights holder is. Unless you have created something and distributed on your own, if someone has written something and it's been published by someone else, perhaps the rights holder is the publisher. So it gets kind of complicated really quickly. Now, we often hear about fair use, especially in the educational context. Fair use is the legal exception to using copyrighted material without asking for permission. The problem with fair use is there really are no rules to follow. It's not defined or outlined. Fair use is actually just a legal defense. It's not an affirmative right to use anything. So one of my favorite quotes about this is, think your specific situation is fair use, try it out and see if someone sues you. So again, it's not a permission to use anything. It's just what you can use to defend yourself if someone claims that you have violated copyright. But we do keep these four factors in mind when trying to decide if something could be defended as fair use. So the purpose and character of the use, the amount used, the nature of the copyrighted work, and the effect on the market value. So in many cases, education, the purpose and character of the use, education is usually given a little bit more flexibility. The same thing with the effect on potential market value. If you are taking something that could make money for a major studio, they're going to be less likely to consider your use fair use. If you use the entire movie, that's not going to fall under fair use, but maybe if you just use a 30-second clip, maybe might be seen as a little bit more fair. But again, all of these factors come together. But what about classwork? Quoting or paraphrasing from an article or a book or report, etc., for a class project or article is considered fair use. You're taking that little bit of piece, putting it into your own work, as long as, of course, you cite your sources. Pretty much everything you didn't create is protected by copyright. Just as if someone's bike is protected from you using it without their permission. So even if you're running late to class and you're like, well, I can get there faster if I use this bike that's just sitting here, let me take this bike and use it. You can't do that. You can't use someone else's thing without their permission. So what are your options to use copyrighted material? Well, public domain is one way. Anything published in the US before 1923 is public domain. That kind of is limiting, but there are some things that are out there that are available for you to use. Anything that's 70 years past the death of the original creator is also available for you to use or reuse or remix or redistribute. And most things published by the US government are also public domain. Considering that the government is of the people and we have paid for it, most of those things are in the public domain. For instance, images taken by the Park Service, maps, things such as that. Wikipedia is actually a great source to find out more information about public domain resources. Wikipedia, of course, lives and dies by availability of public domain. So they're a really good source to understand more about public domain. There are also open contributions. Anything given you, or anything that is given to you with permission to use is okay to use. But be very careful to read the fine print and to always give credit. Creative Commons is a really good resource to search for images that people have taken themselves and put up. Professional stock images at places like Unsplash. Those are put up explicitly for you to use without gaining additional permissions. They do, again, ask for citation. These are also some other sources that I'll post in the comments below that are also good sources to get free images to use if you need to create a PowerPoint or some other thing for class that keeps in mind the quality of the image, but also is available and explicitly given to you to use, unlike just doing a Google search, a Google image search for some image that matches what you want. You can go directly to a source that is okay and explicitly gives you permission to use. And the other option is you might need to pay, especially if you're creating something that will be shared outside of the educational environment. If you are creating a work that will be distributed, if you are creating your own marketing material for something that will go outside of the classroom, you may need to pay. So you may need to subscribe to Shutterstock for that perfect image that you want. You may need to pay a copyright clearance fee for an article that you want to share in class or distribute to your colleagues. You may need to cut a check for that recording artist who uses that little bit of music in that background of that video you want to put up on your website. If you're required to pay and you can't or you don't want to, you just have to find something else, period. It's not worth violating someone else's rights or putting yourself at risk. Look to see if there is something available or see if you can negotiate what you can pay. The most important thing about copyright, or even if it's using something that you do have permission to use, attribution. Give credit where credit is due. If some other photographer has posted a great photo and has said you have permission to share it, you can share it, but also give credit back to that person and do cite that person as where this image came from. I, of course, model good behavior, and here are my credits. Most of the images I've used in this slideshow and in this slide series have come from Unsplashed. The template has come from Slides Carnival. And I've also credited individuals at different sites where I've used an image with permission from Creative Commons or elsewhere. I also am making this slideshow available through Creative Commons to share and reuse as you see fit. I, of course, just ask for you to share that as well. So Creative Commons is a great way to go about finding and how to post your own permissions and your own copyright requests. Again, I don't need to register that, but I am stating here that this is what I would like you to acknowledge and abide by in using my material.